Hey, it's Matt Figliola with AI Design. We're going to talk about a really cool project today involving an ICON FJ44. So this was a really big challenge. It was a challenge because, he really had an ambitious list of things. It was a mile long, and some of the things he was asking for really had to be designed and thought out really well in the beginning before actual work had begun. The first bit of business to do was to tackle the complex rear storage system that the client wanted. He has all sorts of things he wants to keep in there: weapons, off-road gear, etc. We also had to consider the rear HVAC system at the same time. Rear HVAC was a request because he keeps his dogs in the back in the summertime, wintertime too, but in the summer it just gets too hot back there in the ICON. There's no insulation, there's plastic windows, etc. He wanted a pretty significant upgrade to the audio system. He also wanted a really extensive upgrade to his ICON roof rack. The ICON roof rack is pretty simple. It doesn't have many features on it. It has a look, and that look he wanted to keep, but he wanted to add things to it. He wanted a platform on top. He wanted a really good tie-down system to rig gear to. He wanted to add lighting to the sides and the rear, etc. And he also wanted a host of other accessories throughout the vehicle. So the rear storage system had to be considered along with the rear HVAC system. These two things occupied the same space. And there were a variety of complexities that we had to work out to pull off a really strong result. So we started with some rough measurements. We had mock-ups of the HVAC evaporators, which is the large unit that lives in the back. We provided the client with a variety of drawings for him to sort of decide how he wanted to compartmentalize and have the cabinets look. With approved drawings in hand, the shop could now get to the work of installing the rear HVAC evaporator, all of its lines and appendages, so we could then start the building of the cargo system carcass.
With the carcass in place, the team could now set about the designs for the drawer fronts and the lids. This part was rather intricate because the client wanted some of the bins locked with combination locks. The design also included tie-down tracks, allowing for additional items to be strapped to the top surface. The client also wanted cool hardware and each bin sealed, so there's a rubber ball seal around each lid. He also wanted a good solid closure, a good solid feel on each bin, so there are ball catches on each one of the lids. The team also needed to incorporate new air vents, which are the same ones that ICON uses in the dash, although slightly modified. The modification was required because the stock units had a feature where if you pushed on them, they would close, but with the dogs back there, obviously that needed to be disabled. The audio system in an ICON is fairly basic. The head unit is mounted low between the seats and out of sight. Our client wanted something more, a richer experience, something visible with much improved sound quality. Fortunately, there are some excellent compact solutions available today. like this Pioneer unit we chose. To mount the new head unit, we had to design and fabricate a number of components, including new defroster plates and a CNC'd surround that would hold the head unit in place. We wanted to make sure that the new head unit was fully integrated, that it looked like it belonged with the rest of the Icon interior. Next up were the speakers, which is obviously a very important part of any audio system. We started with the tweeters. We were able to repurpose an existing design that we had created and used for a number of other vehicles. These 3D printed pods hang below the dash and deliver excellent sound quality. For the kick panel speakers, instead of using a traditional round speaker grill, we created a unique shape out of ABS plastic that would blend seamlessly into the footwell. Icon mounts the subwoofer below the driver's seat. We utilized that same mounting position, but with a totally new enclosure, one of our signature enclosures. This box delivers the perfect amount of bass for the new system. For fill speakers in the back, we mounted two marine-grade speakers to the roll bar. We finished these in black, and they fit in nicely with the interior. Lastly, to power the system, we added a bank of amplifiers underneath the passenger seat. These were mounted in a special custom bracket created just for the vehicle. One of the requirements for this project was a searchlight, and the timing was just right. Whelen, one of the foremost manufacturers of lighting for emergency services, recently introduced a new remote-controlled spotlight. This light is joystick-controlled and can move in every direction. The light sits on a mount which we needed to adapt to the Icon. We started by 3D scanning the fender and then modeling a base in CAD that would fit the curvature of the panel. From there, we created a 3D printed base, which housed the fasteners and connections for the light. Finally, we finished it to match the exterior of the vehicle. On the inside, we mounted the joystick remote on the front panel of the new console we created. In this location, the controller falls perfectly to hand, without even looking. There was an enormous amount of electrical work that needed to be done in the vehicle, a massive quantity of new wiring, new circuits, and new fuse blocks. Running wiring in an Icon is challenging. There's no carpeting, so all of the wiring needs to be run underneath the vehicle. And of course, what would all this electrical work be without one of AI-designed switch panels, which is something we're known for? We started by identifying all the circuits and switches we would need, and then handed it off to our in-house CAD designer. The Icon came with an underdash panel which housed the 3 ARB rocker switches. It was a simple but very attractive and clean design. So we decided to keep that basic profile and just extrude it out to the necessary width. In addition to the lockers, we added switches for the seat heaters, the HVAC controls, all of the new exterior lighting, and of course a couple of USB ports. The roof rack that comes with the Icon is a very basic piece. There are crossbars, but it is not something you could easily stand on. Our client wanted something considerably more substantial. He wanted something he could stand on and kneel on if needed to strap things down. But he wanted to retain the basic look, so he didn't want a brand new rack. We took the existing rack off and had it sandblasted to remove all of the powder coating. This way, we could see the construction and weld on additional components. We then made some drawings to show the client a design that we had in mind, with slotted decking and L-track to tie things down. The new rack would also include cool fasteners and additional lighting. To prove our concept and to show where everything goes and that the scale was correct, we created a mock-up. This is something we regularly do. And instead of cutting expensive aluminum on the CNC router, we cut inexpensive wood. This allowed us to visualize the proportion and sizing of the decking panels and the track and do some fine-tuning to make sure everything looked just right before moving on to the final material. We decided to make the deck out of 1/4-inch aluminum, and we would incorporate the lighting mounts into the deck panels. We created a steel base for the rack to support the new deck and had the structure powder coated. The decking is made up of 2 aluminum panels, making up 4 quadrants, each separated by L-track. We felt this gave the client the most flexibility for tie-down points, and also, by breaking the deck into 2 halves, it was much easier to work with in the fabrication process. Next, we created some cool aluminum perches for the lighting. These were CNC'd and welded into place in slots we cut in the decking. Lastly, all of the decking and L-track were powder coated, and stainless steel hardware was added. The lights were wired up, and the deck was complete.